cop. I've copped that at last. That's the only one I've copped, Mo cop. I've been trying to get that for ages.
Bless. That's it, I'm going shopping now. I'll go to Wednesbury.
Hi there, and welcome to another review from Class 47 Peter. And in today's review, we're going to be having a look at a Heljan model, as you can see. And in today's review, we're going to be having a look at a Class 47, but this one is quite special because, as you can see, this is actually a limited edition to Rail Express magazine. Well, it was a limited edition to Rail Express magazine when it first came out, which was back in 2002. So obviously it's not really a limited edition to them anymore, because you can only really get it, well, from second-hand websites or people that have them for sale, basically, in various sites. So you can't really get it from Rail Express now. This particular model, however, is quite special, not just because it's a Rail Express limited edition, but I didn't get it from a model shop, and I didn't get it from eBay for that matter. I actually bought this model from a model railway trading group on Facebook, and it's the first time I've ever bought a model from any such group, because I did ask about this particular Class 47, because as you all know, I love the Class 47s. I've got several of them already, and as I like to collect them, because you know they are one of my all-time favourite locomotives, it makes sense to have more than one of them, and that's why I have so many of them, and which is why I like to collect them. And this was one of the liveries I was after. And then a bloke came back to me with this model for sale. I bought it for £90, but this model came all the way from France, so it hasn't been bought in the UK. And it's arrived for a while now, but thank you to the chap who sold it to me. I won't name him, obviously, but I've already thanked him personally anyway by sending him a message, but I'm going to thank him again in this video. But I'm really pleased to get hold of this particular model, being as I've been after it for ages. And I have actually seen this Class 47 in reality when it was in service with DRS. It's not now. I do believe it's been stored. In fact, actually, at the start of the video, you can see my footage of 47853 in the DRS livery with the nameplates Rail Express on. It was the only time I've ever seen it in person. You can find the video up on the channel, but I decided to use it for the beginning of this video as an intro, as I normally do that anyway, unless I haven't got particular footage of that model, then I'll use pictures, but there we go. Right, enough with the chit chat, let's get into the review. So first of all, we take off the box cover, or sleeve. This is the older Heljan packaging. The box isn't as rigid on this one, it's just made of cardboard, but it still does the job. Next we come on to the contents, which as you can see here we have the limited edition certificate, being this model is a limited edition. It's the first and only Rail Express limited edition I've got, so it's the first Rail Express limited edition certificate I have in the collection with certificates. But anyway, we first of all have the number of the model. It's model number 11, as it says on there, and it's number 171 of 750. So obviously 750 is how many they've produced. We get some brief history on the locomotive in reality, the real one of course, and we have several signatures by the people who I do believe work for the Rail Express magazine. Could be wrong though. And lastly we have a picture of 47853 in reality, in this livery, which is the BR Experimental Blue livery. Continuing with the unboxing, just as we put the certificate away, we have some other gumph in here. We get this little leaflet just telling you thanks for purchasing the model. But however, it does mention a slight delay in the dispatch of these models when they first came out. Or the other way. Now the packaging itself, it's actually polystyrene packaging, and I've never seen this before with the Heljan model, so this is a first. As you can see, there's a coupling there, because there is a plastic cover on the polystyrene, by the way. So we do appear to have a few couplings there loose in the box, but that doesn't really matter. So first of all, we remove the plastic cover, which has bubble wrap stuck on it, for extra protection for the model, I'm assuming. And we now come on to the detail parts, which we have several bags of them, as you can see. So in the first bags of details we get some plastic dummy screw link couplings and a few vacuum pipes and a few other bits of details tied into the buffer beam. You also get some other vacuum pipes and other bits and bobs as well, which are all on sprues, by the way, so you do have to cut them off to glue them into place. Then in the next bag of details we get these curious bits of details that I have no idea what they're for, but they're there anyway to add on the model, but I won't be adding these on personally. We get a couple of buffer beams. Now these are spares, I should point out, because the model actually already has them on, but they're spares, which is nice that they've done that. And you also get some spare buffers as well, which do come in different shapes, as you can see. And then in the final bag of details we get a couple of snowplows that I have no intention to add on, because they do catch on things. But we do get some details that don't come in bags. We have these footsteps to add onto the bogies of the model. We also get a couple of slim tension lock couplings as well. And last but not least, there's one last piece of detail part that you get that we cannot leave out. That's attached to the polystyrene packaging itself with tape. But the parts I'm referring to in question are the etched metal nameplates that you get, and they are beautifully etched and painted. Just look at the detail on them. You can even read the small text in the middle of the large E that says rail, which is how the nameplates were in reality, and that is actually the logo of the magazine. Just to clarify, in case you already didn't know. And I shall be adding these nameplates onto the model, but I will be doing my own naming ceremony for this locomotive, because why not? It's something different. So look out for that. Which means that the first few videos you see with this model in, including this one, you're going to see the model without the nameplates. But that's something to look out for. With the detail parts now covered, we now come on to the loco itself. So we'll lift it out the polystyrene tray, very carefully. There's also a sheet of cellophane on the model that we have to remove. So we carefully put it down. Take the packaging to one side. Yes, in the tray we do get the instructions. So we'll come on to those first, so we can't leave them out, before we come on to the model. Right, so now to look at all instructions and paperwork in here. So first of all, come to the actual instruction sheet. First of all, it tells you thank you for fitting the model. Also, how to fit the buffer beam details on. Additional detail parts, meant how to fit them, and DCC fitting it. And then on the inside it's just left black, so that's all essentially we get with this sheet. So we'll put that one to one side. And then next we have the exploded diagram for the model with all the parts that there is to the model, which you can order them, or a certain specific part if you lose it, which is what it's there for, because they do have little numbers on them. So obviously you email Heljan on the specific part and they send you the part. And then we come into this sheet. Well, we have the guarantee on there for a start, as you can see. I don't need nothing to bother with it, but we also do get some history in brief of the Class 47, as well as a diagram of the locomotive. But we'll put that to one side. But with all the paperwork now covered, we can now look at the model in closer detail. So we'll take away the cellophane sheet, and we can now continue on with this review. Right, but first of all, we come on to the detail. We're going to talk about the weight, as I always do in these reviews. And there is a lot of weight in this model. It's very heavy, and that's what we need. Because the weight provides the traction, which means this locomotive, with the weight, can pull trains. Because if there was no weight in the model, it wouldn't be able to pull anything, let alone itself. So that is why we need the weight in these models, because it's very important. Right, now we can come into the detail. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the buffers. They're not sprung, but I don't really personally have much care for the sprung buffers, to be honest with you, because they are somewhat pointless at the end of the day. You're only going to touch the sprung buffers when you're holding the model. You're never going to mess about with them when the model is actually running. And to be honest, I only ever mess about with the sprung buffers when I'm doing these review videos. I never mess about with them any other time. But these buffers are made of plastic, and it would have been nice if they'd been made of metal. But the important thing is this model has buffers, so we can't really complain too much. But what you can do is paint them up and then weather them, because one of the Heljan 47s I've got did come with the previous owner actually painted the buffers on it and then put the grease on them to detail them up. So you can do that with these models. Moving on to the buffer beam, we have lots of little holes for the detail parts to go into. We also have an M socket under the buffer beam attached to the bogie, as you can see, for the coupling. And also we get some little lamp irons as well, as you can see. We also have these little bits of detail that are either side of the high intensity light. And I do believe that they just act as steps so people can climb up onto the front of the loco to work on it or whatever. We also have a little antenna, or an aerial, whatever you choose to call it, on the model, on both ends, which is a nice little detail to have. It is, however, fragile, so do be careful with it, because it can snap off easily, if you're not careful. We also have glazing in the cab windows, as we'd expect, and also window wipers as well, and a very nice detail on them as well. Very nice little wipers there. Obviously they don't work, but we don't need them to. We also have the separately fitted handrails on the front of the loco, both the small handrails you see down the sides of the front and the big handrail with a lamp iron attached on it on the top. And they are painted white, which is very nice because it makes them stand out. And on the real locomotive, when it wore this livery, these handrails were painted white. They are made of plastic, so they're not metal, but it doesn't really matter as long as you're careful with them. But they still look the part, regardless, and they still add to that detail. Moving to the front of the loco itself, we have a couple of warning signs, as you can see, and also we have the lights themselves, which they do light up, so this model does have working lights, as you shall see later on in this video. They're not the brightest of lights, but they're still there regardless. Well, they're not bright in terms of showing up on camera. They are a bit brighter to the human eye, but there are working lights in this model, definitely, as you shall see in the review later. Moving on to the cab door, there's some glazing in there, as you can see. There's also a nice little door handle, and also, again, separately fitted handrails painted white on the side of the door, which is very nice. There's also some cab interior detail inside the cabs as well, and it is painted, and it looks really nice. One thing that's unique about this livery is the BR double arrow logo, because it's not just printed onto the livery itself, it is actually printed onto a red background, as you can see, and I do actually quite like that. It's something different, but you only saw it on this livery, because the livery afterwards, because bear in mind this was an experimental livery, the livery after that just had the logo printed onto the livery, it didn't have the red background. But it's nice that it's being captured on the model, obviously, because in this livery the logo was on that red background, so that's really nice to see. and that's what makes this livery different. We also have the door tread, which they're on all the doors, but I'm just showing this one, but just look at the mesh detail on it. That is just exquisite. I don't know how they did that, but it looks fantastic, and it looks like it's actually real as well. We also have a little warning sign at the top corner of this door here, as you can see. We also have the orange warning stripe, which that's what it is, running around the top of the locomotive, which is very nice, and very fine as well. Moving on to the bogies, we have some nice detail on them. We've got the springs and the axle boxes, and some pipework on them as well. It's not painted, but then again, none of it was on the real locomotive. But if you're that fussed, then you could paint them yourself. We also come on to the fuel tanks, which have some rivet detail on them, which is very nice. And again, not only does it add more detail, but makes the model look more realistic. Moving on to the running number now. Now this model has both its running numbers printed on the model. This was its number before it went to tops, D1733. Its tops number, 47853, is also printed on the side of the model as well. And that's basically what happened after tops came in, and during the time when this locomotive entered service in this livery. Because it did appear twice in this livery, before it went to tops, and then during tops. In the early 2000s it carried this livery, and so it did carry both these numbers. Also you can see the little dialogue for the loco printed underneath the running board here as well. Very nicely done. You also get these little side windows at the side of the loco as well, and they have glazing in them too, which is nice to see. You also get this door in the middle of the loco and some detail at the side of it, as you can see. At the door it's for the people to, or the driver should say rather, to get into the engine if they need to work on it, or whatever needs to be done in there. And not forgetting the little warning sign at the top of the door there. Moving on to the other end again, we have white handrails, glazing in the cab windows, and that BR00 logo with the red background on. This end of the loco has the same detail as it did on the other end. Warning signs, the lights obviously, lamp irons, and the handrails. Moving on to the livery now. It's a very nice even coat, no nasty errors or marks on the paint, which is what we don't want to see. But the shade of the livery is accurate, because as you can see this is a lighter shade of blue, which is why it was experimental, before it went to that darker shade of blue. Because this was the experimental livery, it was a lighter shade of blue than the final livery, the darker blue that they went for. And on both sides we have the locomotive's tops number, 47853, printed on the sides. Very nicely done as well. Moving on to the roof now, which as you can see is painted grey, and it looks very nice to go with the blue. But also there is quite a lot of detail on the roof as well, so it's not bland to look at. First of all, we have lots of these little grills on the sides of the roof, as you can see. Very accurate to the real locomotive, of course. We also have these, which I believe they're vents. You can see some rivet detail under those, and these vents are by the fans, again on both sides of the loco. I'm assuming that's what they're called, and they're there like they should be. On the roof we have some rivet detail, as you can see here. We also have the exhaust where all the diesel fumes and the clag comes out of, and around there we have some rivets as well, which looks very nice. We also have these latches that are painted white, and they open up to get into the parts inside there, such as the engine and whatever, so that they can be worked on. Or if the engine needs lifting out, for example, then that's what these latches are there for. And of course we have the grills with the fans underneath them, and lots of rivet detail around those as well. The fans don't spin, but they don't really need to, if I'm honest. This is not Heljan's thing. And besides, Hornby have stopped doing it now anyway. Which, you know, to be honest, the spinning fan thing, it can be a bit unreliable in terms of the mechanism, as I've found. So, you know, they don't need to spin, but they're there anyway, and so they're nice. You can imagine them anyway, spinning if you want to. But yeah, it's nice to see the fans there anyway. We now move on to the running performance of the model, and as you can see, it ran smoothly around the layout. No grinding noises, motors burning out or stuttering movement. It's performing just how it should be, nice and smooth. Which is what we expect with these models when we first get them straight out the box. Quickly showing you the working lights now, as you can see with the lights being turned off, and you can see kind of why the lights aren't as bright as you see on other models. We now come on to the loaded test run for the model, and we have the 47 coupled up to the BR Blue and Grey set, which looks perfect and goes well with the model, but also it shows why the weight is important, as this model is easily able to pull this rake with ease, with no problems whatsoever. And it makes a very nice train. So overall then, the Rail Express Limited Edition Class 47 from Heljan is a fantastic model. I would highly recommend you get one, if you can find one, because it makes a great addition to your layout, and if you're like me, who likes to collect Class 47s, it'll make a great addition to the fleet of those locos, and it's nice to have in your collection, because it's something different and unique as well. So overall, I am going to rate the Heljan Rail Express Limited Edition Class 47853 Rail Express a 10 out of 10. This has been Class 47 Peter, reviewing the Rail Express Limited Edition model of 47853, and I'll see you again soon for the next review, but until then, take care.